Now, Darin and Anita with your Grand Strand Artist Spotlight.
On the phone with me, ladies and gentlemen, from Las Vegas, Nevada, is Bobby Jones. You've got to have heard of his new song, Ain't Got No Proof, off the album You Ain't Got No Proof. And Bobby, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Darin. How are you?
I'm doing really good, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and the listeners about your new song, I Ain't Got No Proof.
Not a problem at all.
I tell you, your story reads like a movie script almost, and I'd like to ask a lot of the folks that we have on, one of the first questions is, how did you get started in this thing called the entertainment business or the music business?
Well, I started out in the cotton patch, singing to amuse myself, to keep from burning up in the hot sun.
Right.
I told you I was born in Louisiana. Left there when I was about 16 years old.
You're from Louisiana, and I know you went to, at 16, from what I've read, you went into the service around that time.
Right, I set my age up to slip off because I had to get away from that, man. Went into the service in Shreveport, Louisiana. They shipped me to Fort Bliss, Texas, and I stayed there. And then I went to Hackensack, New Jersey, and served the rest of my, service time
there. And I tell you what I've read about that is you actually got a pretty cushy job when you got to New Jersey.
Oh yeah, started driving the cone and his family. You know, everybody. Oh man, haters. But I was his fair-haired boy, even though my hair was a little kinky, you know.
I love it, man. Well, after the service, how did the entertainment thing go? Now, I've read a little bit about it, but you can sort of explain to us how you got tied in all that.
Well, here's what happened in the service. The USO always came to entertain the troops, you know.
Right.
They had that USO show. So one night the USO band was playing, and then they got the news that the singer was sick and he wouldn't be there. So they just got on the microphone and said, is there anyone in here that can sing? You know, and right away I thought, well, heck, I can sing, you know.
Put me on stage.
So I said, yeah, so put me in, take me up there. I've been wanting to get up there anyway. So they said, what's your song? I said, first you say you do, and then you don't. You say you will, and then you won't. You're undecided now. So what are you gonna do? Boy, listen, they flipped all out like.
I love it.
You know. So anyway, did that USO scene for a while with the big old orchestra. And of course, you know, they sent me back to Louisiana after a while, and got a discharge and went back to to Louisiana. Went to trade school. You know, the Army had a trade school, so you could get your feet solid on the ground.
Right.
And then learn a trade. So I learned rafter making and cabinet making. Did that for a year. Got married to my sweetheart. We left and went to Chicago.
Chicago,
the Windy City.
Windy City, and the home of the blues.
That's right, man. So there, I came in contact with all of the big shots: Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Junior Wells, Buddy Guy, Little Walter, you know, Hound Dog Taylor, Jimmy Reed, just to name a few, you know, Coco Taylor, you know.
All the greats.
All the greats, yes. So, and they sort of, I was one of those guys that didn't smoke, didn't drink, you know, didn't mess no drugs. So they grabbed me as their son, you know. This is, and again, I'm their fair-haired boy, you know.
Right.
So I kind of excelled in it because I was totally different than the rest of the entertainers. They was chasing girls, and I was chasing girls, but I kept it a secret from the old people. You
were serious about your music too.
Very serious. I wanted to learn that craft. And then, man, all of a sudden, Brooke Benton came out with Kitty O, and it's just a matter of time. You know, I was hit off into the blues with Muddy and them. But, man, all of a sudden, Jerry Butler, Chuck Jackson, you know, and Marvin Gaye. And so now I want to do this stuff. Brooke Benton was my idol, so I learned every song that he had. There's a historic spot in Chicago that everybody's been to, the Rolling Stones in their limousines, and everybody's been there.
Right.
It's called Pepper's Lounge on the corner of 43rd and Vincennes. It's a very historic blues club. It was very small. It would hold maybe 75, maybe 80 people. But we'd have 250 in there, you know.
Mercy.
We'd be stacked up in there, man.
Packed in, listening to some blues.
I mean, serious sardine can. It was the spot to be in. Junior Wells got a hit record called Messing with the Kid.
Right.
I was singing with the Aces off and on because Junior was going in and out of town. But then his record became a smash, so he just had to travel. So Muddy Waters, Uncle Muddy and Junior Wells suggested to David Myers and Louis Myers and Fred Below that I become the front singer for their band. And, man, the rest is history about that. We stayed together about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
You know, playing. We integrated a few clubs, you know, places we weren't supposed to be. Got our windows broke out and our tires flattened a few times. But we hung in there, you know, and then came through it. And then we went downtown and took some twist and rock and roll and Chevy Checker stuff down. And Ray Charles had to tell me what I say out at that time. So I wish I had some of the money I made singing "Tell Me What I Say" and "Personality" by Lord Price, you know, and Elvis Presley stuff. And man, listen, Darin, I've had a beautiful trip down through this blues in rhythm and blues and soul, Southern soul. I
tell you, Bobby, when I was reading the article, and the article was out of the Living Blues off their website, and I tell you, the article is really incredible, and I would tell folks to go Google for that and find the Living Blues about Bobby Jones and read this article, because it gets really in depth on your life and what you've just told us up until this point. And it sounds like that you really started out in the blues with all the artists that you got to know, and they sort of took you under their wing. And then I know down the line you got into this thing of the Southern soul market.
Yes, a friend of mine, Willie Clayton, and Lee Shot Williams. Lee Shot Williams being my best friend, and Willie Clayton being a guy that we sort of put our arms around him. He was quite a young fella. He had went to Mississippi and started recording for Ace Records.
Right.
Johnny Vincent Mbigulio had a company called Ace Records down there in Mississippi. Lee Shot called me and said, "Man, you need to come south, get your feet wet in this Southern soul market." That was enough said for me, because I was kind of spinning my wheels at that time.
Looking for something to do.
Exactly, something new.
Something new to do, right.
Yes. So Lee Shot Williams lived in Memphis, so I went to Memphis, and I stayed in Memphis about 6 months. We roamed around, and I got to, know Beale Street and B.B. King's Club and all that stuff.
Right.
And then we rode down to Mississippi one day. We walk in, and Willie Clayton is the A&R man. I had recorded a single called "In the Mood for Love," and played it for Willie Clayton, and he called the president and Johnny Vincent in, and he said, "Johnny, all this need is marketing." Johnny said, "Well, let's go with it." And listen, you're talking about one of the biggest records through the South.
Oh man, it was incredible.
Yeah, one of the biggest records, and then they cut an album on me with that same name, "In the Mood for Love," and "Sneaking and Freaking" was the next big record on there. It was just as big. It might have been a little bigger than "In the Mood," but "In the Mood" is the one that started. We wrote that song, Billy Ray Charles and I wrote that song for Tyrone Davis.
Right.
So Tyrone kept fooling around, and we said, "Well, hey man, we got a good track on this. Let's see if we can get it put it out ourselves." I went to Mississippi, and that's what we did.
For Carolina Beach music, it was huge. And I tell you, there's something I just pulled up the other day in researching you, is that there's a website here called shagtour.com that's an information site, basically, and they did a poll of folks. "In the Mood for Love" came in at number 17 out of 40 of being one of the hottest songs in beach music or in shag music.
That's wonderful.
So, and then, like you said, "Sneaking and Freaking" come along, and I remember when that came out in the station I was at, and that was really hot for our market also. It's just a big song.
That "Sneaking and Freaking" and "In the Mood" kept me in Mississippi for about 4 years. You know, I worked on those two songs, for about 4 years and missed through the Arkansas, Mississippi. Never did come to Carolina, though. I don't know why.
Right. I tell you, the songs were hot here. We're going to get you here. Let's do that. We can do that with the new song here.
Okay, I appreciate that, Darin.
You're welcome, Bobby. And I tell you, let's bring it up to this, since we're talking about the new song, which Ain't Got No Proof, and it's off the album You Ain't Got No Proof. And
That's right.
I tell you, Bobby, I went and listened to the tracks off this album, and really this album is a mixture in my head or in my ear of blues and a little Southern soul twist together somewhat.
That's right. So. That's exactly what I went after. That's what I went after, Darin. I said, I just come out of that blues groove for 3.5 years.
Right.
Doing the UK, you know, all the foreign countries. So I wanted to have something to fill that void with my people. I set up a real serious group of people over there.
Right,
know?
Right.
And I don't just want to drop out of sight on them, you know. So it looks like they're going to be happy with this stuff too. Oh,
it's an incredible album, and I tell you, you've done an awesome job on it. And I think with that mixture, like you were saying, and what you were after in the album, it will reach everybody that you have met through your career because of the blues and the Southern soul.
That's exactly what I was shooting for, and I was hoping some great disc jockey would say that to me one day.
Well, I hope I'm a great disc jockey that said it to you, Bobby.
Yeah, because you just said it to me. That's what I was hoping for.
But it is. I've listened to the album, I think there's 12 tracks on there that I listened to, and all of them are really good. And I know even in the Carolinas right now, I've talked to comrades of mine, I guess, in radio, and I know there's at least 4 or 5 of us in North and South Carolina that are really hot on this song. So you did good.
Well, thank you.
And I tell you, Bobby, I appreciate you so much taking time out of your day to talk with us and talk with our audience about the song. And folks, I'm going to tell you, if you've not heard it yet, you're getting ready to hear it right now. And if you go online, you can Google Bobby Jones, and I'm going to tell you, he's on YouTube. He comes up on 3 or 4 different things on a Google search, so you need to go check that out and find out more about Bobby Jones. Bobby, thank you again so much.
Darin, thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon.
Darin and Anita on Grand Strand, a music evolution.